Sit straight with your hands on the knees in Jnana Mudra or in Namaskar. Bring all your awareness and attention to the session. Let's have an intention to be completely present and available for the session. We'll start with 3 Omkars and the prayer. Inhale. Oh. Inhale. Inhale. Oh. Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Slowly open your eyes. Okay. Great. Just give me a minute, okay? I'm not able to suddenly see. A second. Okay, now it's fine. Sure. Okay. So we have so far discussed about stiffness to steadiness and burnout to breath and how breath can help us get out of the burnout. Today we are going to go slightly deeper into understanding what alignment is. Because we do hear this word alignment very often in every yoga class. To start talking about the alignment and understanding of this word alignment and how this fits into our daily yoga practice in our context, I will start with an incident that I remember, and it is not an unusual incident. Basically, it happens almost every day in the class. So, I was teaching a yoga class some years back, and then a student came up to me after practicing a simple pose of Tadasana. Okay. And then she said, I don't know why, but one side of my body always feels tighter than the other. Okay. This is a very um, usual comment, usual observation. Do you all agree? in any pose that involves two sides. It could be twisting, it could be side bending, um, it could be just, raising the leg up, one leg up, like say Vrukshasana, balancing pose. It could be any pose which involves practicing it on two sides. We feel one side is more open or flexible, or one side is more strong. And then same observation she had about Tadasana. And then she said, I always try to align myself. I also practice Tadasana in front of the mirror. And when I see myself in the mirror, I still feel off. I think my Tadasana is not happening correctly. Am I doing something wrong? Again, this is a very common question that is asked. Am I doing something wrong? Now, this question has, always stayed with me. Am I doing something wrong? Because we all struggle, and we all have to understand that many times that struggle is not, or rather, I would say, not always that struggle is about incorrect technique. Many times that struggle could be about a pattern. Remember, we discussed about movement patterns in the first uh, lecture. So maybe for her also, it was a natural pattern which was rooted in her body's history, her posture, her breath, even her thoughts, her emotions were shaped, by an invisible set of movement patterns or spirals that were running through her. Today, when we talk about alignment, we will explore these invisible patterns of alignment, not as correction, okay? We don't want to discuss what correction should be made, but we have to understand the connection between different parts of the body, and all of that put together, connected, becomes alignment. What does alignment mean? What's your understanding of alignment? Again, type what do you understand by the word alignment? Balance, coordination, okay, harmony. Yes, in sync, connection with balance, sync, mind and body balance. Yes, right. So, when we are in the present moment, physically and mentally, yes. So, when we are thinking of alignment, coordination, yes, we are thinking of more than one things that are there, and we are thinking about balancing or coordinating or putting them together, or tying them together, something like that, right? So we agree that there is more than one thing there, and only then the alignment, we have to think about alignment. So many of us think in the context of asana practice, alignment is getting the posture right. Say, for example, lining up the heels, no, heel to heel alignment in certain poses, or squaring the hips, squaring the shoulders, making the spine straight, sitting upright, stacking your head on the shoulders, or shoulders in line with your hips. All of these cues are nothing but alignment cues. And these are not new to many of us who are practicing. yoga. But so basically, what we are doing is we are thinking in the language of geometry when we talk of alignment. But alignment is more than even geometry. It's not about how the body looks, but about how your systems work together. We have understood this even in the first session. It's not only about how the body looks, because we understood that, as a goal for yogasan practice, we need to find our version of the same pose. Okay, so we are saying that alignment is about how the body systems work together: your breath, your balance, your nervous system, and even your thoughts. Now, in yoga, we often focus on anatomical alignment, which is right. Okay, it is absolutely correct to focus on that. Are the knees stacked over the ankles? Are the shoulders leveled? Is the spine neutral? Is the tummy tucked in? But true alignment also includes energy, it also includes awareness, and it also includes emotion. Now, in today's session, we are going to talk about something completely different. We are going to go to evolution, and we will explore one idea, and that idea is about gati. Gati. Gati is what? Movement. Gati is again a movement pattern. Like we said in the first lecture, that we all have our own movement patterns, and that those movement patterns are the results of our lifestyle, our profession, our eating habits, sleeping habits, driving habits, then our sport, uh, and all of that. So that creates a particular movement pattern. Now, gati is a movement pattern. There are five gatis in our body: natural movement patterns that arose when we became two-legged beings. Those natural movement patterns are known as gatis. Okay, and there are five gatis which are born from evolution. Now, what is gati? Gati means motion, right? Gati means flow. In the body, it refers to spirals. Okay, it refers to how spirals and directional forces are moving through us. Spirals, right? You understand spiral, right? Something that moves like this in spiral. And there is a particular direction. It could be this or this. And the spirals have a directional force. It has a force. Now these gatis are, or these directional forces are subtle, constant. They have momentum. It is constantly moving, but because of that force, we often do not notice them. Okay, like for example, as this girl was saying, I often notice myself in the mirror. I do try to do tadasan in the mirror. Okay, like if we all stand in front of the mirror, we are not going to notice these gatis in us. Though there is a movement, we will not notice it. These gatis, or these movement patterns, they began evolving when all of us human beings transitioned from walking on four legs to standing upright. when we were walking on four legs, our stomach was perpendicular to the floor or parallel to the floor. Stomach was perpendicular or parallel type. Our spine was perpendicular to the floor or parallel to the floor. Parallel. Yes. So everyone agrees it was parallel to the. Now is it parallel to the floor? No. This is a major change that has happened. The spine, which was parallel to the floor, now it is upright. Correct? So these gatis, these movement patterns, they began evolving when we transitioned from walking on four legs to standing upright on two legs. And these front limbs became hands. Now we don't have four legs, we have two legs. And these, which were the legs, now are our arms. So our muscles, joints, bones, and also the placement of internal organs had to adapt. And so they had to create an intricate system, a completely new system of counterbalancing. Like from here, suddenly now we are standing like this. So everything had to be aligned differently. This is where the word alignment comes. Everything was realigned, four legged to two legged. So, new movement patterns had to be formed. Each gati, there were five gatis. We'll talk about those five gatis. And each gati that we are now going to talk about, it reflects a specific um, it reflects a specific way of adaptation that occurred during the physiological evolution, however body evolved. Okay. Now the first gati is leftward spiral. We'll focus on, or rather this gati focuses on the hip and the thigh region. So as we stood upright, the body needed to stabilize internal organs. Correct? And it also had to manage um, how the body would move parallel to the ground as against that now upright and still moving forward. So that side dominance also it had to manage. So one very crucial and major adaptation that happened during this evolution was the way our thigh bone, front part of the thigh bone, which is also known as femur. Okay. So how the thigh bone rotated inwards. When we were four-legged creatures, our thigh bone was rotated outwards. Now, as we stood up, the thigh bone rotated inwards, and that inward rotation had to happen so that there is strength provided to stand upright. And this particular inward rotation of thigh bone is very dominantly seen in left femur rotated slightly inward, left thigh bone. The left pelvis subtly shifting forward. Now, this created a stable base, and because of the thigh, both the thigh bones rotated inwards, okay, but there is a dominance of left thigh bone, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about it, how it is balanced with the right shoulder. So both the thigh bones rotated inwards, but there is a dominance of left thigh bone generally rotating inwards. So because of this, a stable base was created, and that allowed for better load transfer across the pelvis. Now, this spiral helps in weight transfer during walking, and it keeps us from collapsing into the pelvis. Now, in asana, when we practice any asana, you might notice, rather, from now on, as you understand this, you will start noticing that spiral that I'm talking about in all the twisting postures. We all know Ardha Matsyendrasana. Many of us who practice asanas know Ardha Matsyendrasana. Yes. Right. Okay. So what happens in Ardha Matsyendrasana? We twist. Does one side feel different than the other? One side twist happens better, while to the other side, the twist doesn't happen that well. Now we have to reflect, when you twist in Vakrasana, in Uttana Vakrasana, Supta Vakrasana, Ardha Matsyendrasana, in Parivritta Trikonasana, Parivritta Parshvakonasana, or all the twisting postures, Parivritta Ardha Chandrasana. We have to reflect, is our rib cage rotating with the pelvis, or it is rotating against it? Is pelvis, which is the support. Then there is lower spine, lower back. Then there is rib cage, middle back, rib cage. Okay. Now, is it that the pelvis remains here and the rib cage rotates in opposite direction, or both rotate together? What happens? Do a twist and tell me what is happening. Just a simple twist. Sit and twist to the right or left, and observe and tell me what happens. Pelvis remains stable and then ribcage twists, or both twist together. Hip rotates. What does that mean? Hip and ribcage. What I am asking is, do they rotate together or not together? Not together. Okay, pelvis remains stable. Okay, see, so here what is happening? What's happening here? To begin with, to begin with, they move together. But after a certain point, when you have to deepen the twist, the pelvis moves, or rather remains stable, and then the ribcage moves. They are part of the same spiral. They are not fighting with each other, okay? They are supporting each other, aligning each alignment. This is alignment. Now, in a simple standing Kati Chakrasana, we open the arms and we twist. Those who are attending classes with me, I tell you, do not take your hip with you. What does that mean? You align yourself with the evolutionary alignment. And when we align ourselves with these gatis that are already given, that are already present, and we honor these gatis, our posture is going to remain aligned always, not just while practicing on the mat, but otherwise also. Then there is another spiral, rightward spiral, which is mainly about rib cage and shoulder region. So to counterbalance the leftward spiral, the upper body adapted. The right shoulder, I mean, I'm talking about right because I've given the example of left thigh bone and right. So how these two balance. Okay, left thigh and right. It's same happens with right thigh and left shoulder also. What happens to the, so just the way the thigh bones rotated inwards, what happened to the shoulders? They rotated outward. Okay, they rotated outward. And that outward rotation of the shoulders allowed for this expansion, the thoracic expansion, this cavity. This also allowed for arm mobility. This also allowed for, because now we are standing upright, we have to reach and grab. Correct? There was a scope to reach and grab. If there is a scope to reach and grab, these adaptations had to happen. Shoulders also rotated outwards for rib movement during breathing, during respiration. So, see, so many adaptations happened, and everything was just realigning to adapt to, okay, now from four leg to two leg, okay, this is happening. Let the internal organs be aligned like this, the outer musculoskeletal systems be aligned like this. Everything, all of this was happening, and this didn't happen overnight now. It is a long process. So this spiral, it supports spinal rotation, it supports arm reach, it supports rib movement during breathing, during respiration. Say in the practice of postures on the mat, in Trikonasana, in Parivritta Trikonasana, we experience this spiral. Or anywhere where our shoulders need to rotate outwards, we experience this spiral. You remember, again, those who are attending the class, what do we say in back bends? In order to bend back, we need to have open shoulders. And in addition to that, I always say in Setu Bandhasan, do not turn your toes out. Don't take your knees in opposite directions. Knees are going forward, toes are going forward. Why? So that that hip rotation can happen. Same thing. Chakrasan, backward bending will happen. One with this rightward spiral. In addition to that, we also stretch the thighs, don't we? For backward bending, we also stretch the thighs and make sure that there is inward rotation happening. So what do we do at times? We hold a brick in between the knees for Setu Bandhasan. And then we say, engage the inner thighs. So that awareness of internal rotation of the thigh bone comes. And then after coming into Setu Bandhasan, at times I tell you, walk in with your shoulders. Walk the shoulders in. When you walk the shoulders in, they are actually rotating outwards. In Setu Bandhasan, when you walk the shoulders in, they are rotating outwards. Are you all getting what I'm trying to tell you? Yes? Okay. So, while doing these postures, we have to reflect now. What is happening to the shoulders? Are my shoulders aligning with the evolutionary gati, outward rotation, or they are going against the gati, collapsing? While standing or while walking, am I walking like this with my thighs, my hips rotated outwards? While standing, I'm standing like this, or I'm standing like this with my thigh bones rotating inwards. This is awareness of alignment. Then there is one more gati, Tiryak Gati, lateral swing or lateral sway. So human being began to swing side to side when they walked upright. Why would they swing side to side? If you use the same arm and leg to go forward, how will you walk? You will walk like that. Proports. There will be no counterbalance. So basically, a lateral shift of the pelvis and spine was needed to maintain the center of gravity with 1 foot off the ground. How do you maintain the CG? So this movement, this gati, cross, tiryak. Tiryak is what? Cross. So this movement, which takes, say, when your right shoulder moves forward, your left leg balances. When your right leg moves forward, your left arm um, assumes the responsibility of balance. So this Tiryak Gati, it made our gait efficient. It prevented us from falling. It prevented collapse. So say in asanas like Vrukshasana, or even while walking, or even in asanas like Gomukhasana. Why? Because in Gomukhasana, what it's a very beautiful pose to understand all these gatis. In Gomukhasana, what happens? One knee over the other. Okay, and if your right knee is up, and if you lift your left arm up, right down, this is counterbalance. So that Tiryak Gati we can very efficiently experience. In Vrukshasana, at times, if I say we balance, we did this recently in the class, those who are attending. In Vrukshasana, I asked you to tilt your body to the right side. This is challenging the Tiryak Gati. So we build strength by challenging also these gatis. Then there was one more gati, downward pull, Adhogati. Don't think of this as something bad, okay? Adhogati. It just describes the direction. That's it. So downward, as in going where, what pulls us down? Gravity. Gravity pulls us down. So when we stood upright, as gravity pulled us downwards, we needed a pace. So the bones of the thighs or the bones of the legs thickened. Our pelvis became or assumed a shape of a bowl. Our pelvis is in a shape of bowl. And also our feet developed arches for better shock absorption. All this is because of that downward pull. as a result of that downward pull. So this gati gave us that rooting and support. This gati is our connection to the ground. And we can feel that gati in the way the posterior chain of our physical body is designed. Posterior is backwards. So the entire posterior chain, how it is designed, it pulls us down. As we are sitting also, our shoulder blades, scapula going downwards. If your shoulder blades lift up, then the shoulders are going to come towards the ears and eventually they'll also round like this. And this posture is not a good posture, isn't it? So shoulders going out and scapula pulling down. See, two gatis. So we feel while sitting, while standing, even in Shavasana, we can feel, if we start feeling that my entire backside of the body is pulling me down towards the heel, from the back of the head down towards the heels. This is what aligning ourselves with this gati. So rooting, support, grounding. We can feel this in postures like samasthiti, when we just stand in samasthiti. In postures like Utkatasana, we can very well feel this downward gati. When we push the hips back and down, where the arms are lifting up while the hips keep us grounded, we press them down. Then, of course, as to counterbalance, there was one more gati, which is an upward lift, Urdhva, to stay upright. The spine had to elongate and it had to lift against gravity. First it was parallel, now it is perpendicular. So now it had to stay lifted against gravity. So there is something called foramen magnum, which is the opening at the base of the skull. So that shifted to the bottom of the skull and that enabled the vertical orientation of the head. So the rib cage lifted and then we had an S shape curve in the spine. So all these adaptations were the result of this gati, this upward lift gati. So what does this give us? It gives us length. It also gives us awareness. We can feel this from the front of the body. See, if the front of the body does not have upward lift, how will the posture look like? It will just look like this. Right? So my front of the body has to lift up while the back of the body has to press down. When this constant motion is felt, the posture is right. It is constantly moving. It is a gati. And if we connect with that, upward lifting, downward pressing, upward lifting, downward pressing, our upright posture is maintained anytime. So when we are talking about alignment, what we all need to understand is, yes, knowing how a particular asana is practiced is important, of course. Okay. In Trikonasana, the legs are apart, the arms are open, and one foot turns out. The hip doesn't go with that foot, only the foot turns out. Both the hips remain in one line, and then we lengthen If you are going to the right, we lengthen the right side of the body also, and then we bend, and then we align both the shoulders. All of these are what? Bodily alignment cues. All this is right only. Okay. But why are we doing it that way? We are doing it that way so that it is in line with or aligned with these gatis. So that when we get into the pose, we honor these gatis. Getting this? So I always say, if one has to learn the postures, first and foremost, as a part of alignment, is know the name of the pose. We cannot forget the names of the poses. That is the first alignment. We can't describe a pose like, that pose which you conducted in the class, where we took right leg forward, left leg back, and then we raised the arms up and then we bent forward. You can't describe a pose like that. Okay, because I always feel, how will anyone feel? Okay, how will you feel if I call you, as you know, that girl who is wearing a blue t-shirt and wearing spectacles and has short hair? You, how will you feel like? How will you feel? There is no connection. But if I say Varsha, then there is connection. This is your first handshake. Okay. So we start with that. So this is our first alignment. Okay. And then the second alignment is to know what is the goal of this pose. The goal of every pose, there is a goal to every pose. We cannot have our goal as, okay, this pose needs to look like this. That is not the goal. And I have to anyway look like that pose. That's not the goal. So, what's the goal of the pose? It is probably stretching the sides of the body. We're talking about physiological goals only, okay? Not even physiological. We are talking about musculoskeletal system only. We are not even going in towards internal organs, but say stretching the side body or lengthening the back side of the body for forward bends, or opening the front body for backward bend, twisting the spine for twist, so making the spine more mobile, supple, creating more space in the spinal column when it comes to balancing postures, or building strength when it comes to inversions, balancing, arm balancing. So I need to secondly know what is the goal of this pose. This is important in alignment. Only when you understand what's the goal of the pose, your body will align itself, because you will start talking. There will be this self-talk involved. In your self-talk, you will start telling yourself, I want to move in this direction because this is the goal. And the body has intelligence to align itself. Then thirdly, yes, we have to know how to get into that pose and how to get out of that pose. Okay. And fourth level of alignment is what we just discussed. That's the fourth and final level of alignment. When we start understanding, how can I feel these gatis in the body? How can I feel the left spiral, right spiral? As I'm standing in Samasthiti, do I feel that my hips and my thighs are rotating out? If the hips and the thighs rotate out, the lower spine, the lumbar spine will start arching. Okay, there is an excessive arch created in the lumbar spine. That's a result of the hips because they are not engaged anymore. But if the hips are rotated, thighs are rotated in, then automatically your lower abdominal area is tighter, it is engaged, and your glutes are also engaged. So the pelvis does its work of supporting. Till then, it's not doing its work. Then what happens if it is not doing its work? Then other body parts begin to do overtime. They try to compensate. So now your lower back is overworking. So it hurts, isn't it? So as I'm standing, this is the fourth level of alignment. Are my hips turned in? Is there inward rotation happening? Are my shoulders rolled back? Is my backside of the body, posterior chain pulled down? Am I lifting the front of the body up? At least these four. And then Tiryak, Tiryak Gati. While moving, say in Surya Namaskars, Tiryak Gati. This is the fourth level of alignment that we all need to think about when we come to practice poses on the mat. And we would look at us, this understanding takes our asana practice to a different level. And then your asana practice automatically becomes therapeutic. Okay, there is no therapy as such, which is additional, in addition to this. This is therapeutic because then there is the entire thing is aligned. All the systems put together, they're all working as one unit. And then we also create or we also provide an environment within the body for further evolutionary process because evolution has not stopped, right? It is an ongoing process. So we are ready. It is the evolution is happening and there is no fight, there is no struggle, internal struggle. The environment is ready. Getting this? And when we carry this sense of alignment and awareness, not only we don't keep it on the yoga mat, but we carry it even outside and off the yoga mat. Then pain in the neck, pain in the upper back, pain in the lower back, or plantar fasciitis, the inner arch, or the heel hurts, pains. All these things will not happen, or they will reduce, or we will have awareness. They can still happen for some other reason. Accidents can happen, whatever can happen, but not because we don't have awareness of the body. Okay. So I will stop here for today. I'll chant the prayer and then we can discuss more. Hari Om. पूर्णमतः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Thank you.